didn't miss any action here as the champions run their way down Summoner's Rift. We got Dignitas Mirage on your blue side, AOE Randoms on your red side, Hawk. This is game one of what I hope to be 3 games.
Yeah, indeed. Game one of hopefully 3, and we already have some spicy Summoner spell choices that may look familiar. Dragoon taking the exhaust up against the Jax in the top lane here for Dignitas Mirage, as we do see heavy skirmishing for both teams. Should get a lot of value out of that one.
Yeah, definitely, especially even into a lane counter like this Jax pickup here for Chim. Really excited to see how this unfolds. We typically don't see Gwen's Ghost Smite. Go with that flash in the top lane, typically go for something else. Sometimes the Ignite, sometimes the Ghost, but in this case, going to be that Exhaust. And as you said, Hawk, we have seen Dragoon become a pretty big Exhaust connoisseur, so not super surprised to see this. And right now, as we get ready to start up, it's probably going to be opposite side starts for these junglers, which means that they'll probably not be too much early game action.
Yeah, looks like Cyber wanting to potentially path down towards his bottom side, or even better, get into Josie's jungle and try to, put him off his game in these early levels where Lee Sin is so strong. But it will just be a double leash here for Josie up on the blue buff. Generally what you want to do, Diana is a fast clearing jungler. Get her off to the fastest possible clear so she can start influencing the map, especially once she hits that level 6 mark. And also, interestingly, both AD carries going for longsword triple potions here in this bot lane. Looking at potentially heavy trading from all of them to come through. So, watch out for that. The sustain war definitely going to be, a factor in this lane.
Yep, and while the accelerated leash helped Josie out in his clear, it does give Dig Mirage a bit more prio in this early laning phase. Going to be a little bit important potentially when Cyber eventually makes his way down towards the bottom side. We'll see what happens though. They're going to hit level 2 first, and doesn't look like AOE Randoms want to do anything about that.
Yep, unsurprising, really. Alistar level 1, pretty bad compared to Rakan level 1, especially if he does have that W battle dance, which I'm not sure if he had or revealed, but just the threat of it means that you can never really take it all in. And with Varus basically just relegated to farming with E, actually going to miss out on a lot of CS here on the bottom side. So early lead for Cal, putting Short Hop behind. Definitely something that you want to see, as likewise on the top side, Chim getting the early shove up against Dragoon.
Yeah, kind of the opposite sides are getting the pushes for both of these teams. Interesting enough, it's where the junglers are ending up pathing. So it does allow them a lot more freedom to kind of roam around, make sure that Crab goes uncontested. And Chim up here in this top lane on this Jax, this is not something that we typically see in the Proving Ground circuit. Like, this is not a pick that's super meta at the moment, but I really like Chim on this Jax pickup. Of really fits kind of the playstyle he has of kind of being up there in the top lane and winning the lane kind of a lot most of the time by himself.
Yep, and he's using his lane priority now, roaming down, just helping his jungler do the crab even faster. Again, accelerating Josie. He's on the most snowbally pick for his team, and you want to try to stay ahead of the jungle matchup on Cyber in the farm game, because Cyber's going to want to gank. You need to make sure you're getting something in return. So they get all the river vision down. He CCs the crab for his jungler. Already completed his full 7 camp clear, including the crab. Gotten deep vision. He's reset. Going to try to get the respawn of his Gromp here in just about 15 seconds. So good early pathing here from Josie, and Cyber not finding a kill critically. It means he's behind.
Yeah, Diana typically a champion that, while he does farm relatively quickly, doesn't have the best gank setup or early game pressure. So allowing her to continue to accelerate, get towards that Moonfall with the level 6. While Cyber, on the other hand, kind of wants to get a lot of early kills, wants to be at that first blood, typically around this first rotation. So right now, Josie is looking pretty good, but Cyber is headed towards this bottom side.
Yep, but now with that accelerated clear that we talked about, Josie's already down here. So if Cyber wanted to go for a play, they have their jungler in the back pocket to take the 3v3. And with Alistar, Varus, Diana, that is a lot of single target damage. So Cyber smartly just takes his reset, but it means he's behind just ever so slightly in tempo. But tempo is everything here in the jungle, as both teams actually trading deep vision in each other's jungle. It looks like DNA with the Shaviad got a jungle entrance ward up there by the Raptors as well. So they should be spotted as they path towards each other. But I would imagine Cyber going to want to continue clearing down towards his bottom side. AoE, they need to get the spot wave pushed in to bounce towards them before Cyber arrives, but they're going for the gank instead.
Yeah, Josie's already here. Nice usage of that grand entrance from Light Pulse, and then the Battle Dance out to safety. That extra range with that bot lane combo, definitely doing some work there. And so while Josie did look for a gank, when the setup from Pockets wasn't there, nothing ended up happening.
Yeah, but it means they have the early priority around this dragon should they choose to take it. However, it looks like Josie, as I said, just going to snowball the farm game. Going to take away these Raptors completely for free as Cyber just trades it back on the top side. And, you know, that's why the Lovers duo is so strong. Rakan gets the knock up on the Alistar and then ease a million miles away back to his Xayah. No Summoner's Burn, but it is a pressure advantage nonetheless for the side of AoE. So, you know, they're not going to be too sad about how that one went as everyone just goes back to farming.
18 CS lead right now for DNA here on this Nico pickup. Definitely a really oppressive laner, especially against a Viego with that W. Those autos definitely doing a whole lot of damage in that early stage of the game. And it's allowing a lot of mid lane prio, and Cyber has gone into the enemy jungle as a result of that, going in, stealing some of the Raptors, and keeping up in farm so far with Josie.
Yeah, and I want to give a huge shout out to Dragoon as well, only being behind 5 CS currently in the top lane. He's not really let Chim crash the waves consistently under his turret, constantly holding a freeze and sort of forcing Chim to respect the pressure as junglers path up there. Nothing really going to happen from that one. So, you know, he's managed to keep the CS close due to the threat of a potential gank, and it's just where I want to give more props to the second rotation picks for the side of Dig Mig. I mean, Cyber getting the Lee Sin and DNA getting the Nico. It's just created sort of a mismatch in the mid-jungle 2v2 that's not really allowed AoE the freedom to go for any plays due to the threat of the counter ganks, due to the threat of constant mid pressure from Dignitas Mirage. And with the mid-game composition, it's sort of just a little bit scary for AoE as they just ever so slightly fall behind in the farm game.
Yeah, and Leo hasn't even been able to get a back off just yet. It's just been stuck in this lane. DNA continuing to push, and Leo doesn't want to really lose a wave. And because of that, a lot of the prio around some of these objectives, like Dragon, could be in favor of Dignitas Mirage, just considering the item discrepancies that are available on some of these mid laners. Leo does have teleport, and with DNA backing, I'm expecting him to clear this wave out and take it back of his own. But at the moment, things are going really well in the mid lane for DNA.
Yeah, and this is exactly why, too. Like how I said, Josie could potentially look for Dragon after ganking bot, but they're afraid of the threat of this Nico roaming down. It's just stronger than the Viego at this point in the game in any sort of skirmish, and Lee Sin could have come down from the Raptor camp. So although, you know, you still take away a camp from the enemy jungle, great. It's not much of an advantage. It's not the major neutral objective pressure that you might have hoped to have from a pressure gank such as that, but level 6 being hit in the bot lane.
Yeah, ultimate's available for everyone here in the bottom side. First blood secured by Pocket. The teleports are coming in. Cow continuing to rain the autos in, but here comes that Pop Blossom flash. It's actually going to miss on the short hop. Nice usage of that flash, but Pocket is going to be that sacrificial cow. Beef is on the menu for Dig Mirage as they go 1-for-1.
I'm assuming that was just like a spectator bug because you saw the flash particles come out from short hop and it looked like he was in the Nico ult. Think he did manage to flash away from that one and just perfectly executed there from the side of AOE Randoms, though. They just immediately, Varus level 6, pull the trigger on the ultimate. Xayah still level 5, not able to dodge that one, not able to flash it either. They take him out, and although the TP does come down and trade back the kill 1-for-1, as I apologize, the kill was onto the Rakan. Regardless, they managed to trade it back 1-for-1, sure, but the initial play and the trade of cooldowns does favor Randoms. They get the first blood money, they get the TP out of DNA, which also relieves a lot of lane pressure now for Leo. He's able to slightly close up the CS gap, but critically, he's able to get a back for free where he's not going to lose a whole load of minions under his turret. So nice play from Randoms, not really netting a massive gold lead, but it does give them just ever so slightly pressure on the map.
Well, heal was burned there by Short Hop in the bottom side. As Pockets went for one of his signature roams, not going to mean a whole lot for the Randoms, but always important to take note of some of the cellular cells that have been burned. On the other side of the map, Dignitas Mirage have started up this first Rift Herald. Cyber and Dragoon will very likely pick this up in just a couple of seconds, with nobody from Randoms really trying to contest.
Yep. Mid pressure, it all comes back to that. You can't fight this Nico, you can't fight this Lee Sin, so they're going to take away the Herald, but on the bottom side, no heal.
Double knockup for Pockets, and combined with the Eve from Cow will mean Short Hop gets instantly deleted. The quickness also doing a lot there. It's nice 2v2 kill in the bottom lane for the Lovers duo.
And Dignitas Mirage, they're getting everything now off of this play. It all starts with the trade of summoners down on the bot side, as well as the trade of kills. Now, I said that they forced out the TP from DNA, but they also got the flash off of Short Hop, so he's not able to get away from that one. Immediately charms up, it guarantees the knockup, and there's so much burst between the Xayah and the Rakan with the Blade Caller. So now, sitting at 2-0, Cow is ahead. They also get the Herald on the top side using their pressure. So Dignitas Mirage, in what was an extremely even game, just blew it open a little bit. Up 800 gold. They have the Herald in the back pocket, but it's a flash in.
Yeah, here comes Josie Pop Blossom. Gonna lock him up for just a little bit, but not enough damage yet on the Nico to do anything. Here comes Cyber, though. The kick will secure the kill onto the jungler, but Leo is here as well. Gonna get the stun. Miss is that reset onto Cyber critically, and Light Pulse might have been the one to get his jungler out. It's so far just gonna be a 1-for-1.
Wow, and another 1-for-1 coming through. It's Josie on the initial play, flashing in with Diana ult, locks up DNA, who had no flash from the bottom side play. But the counter gank once again comes through. This is why Cyber is so good. He gets the return kill onto the enemy jungler, and he gets out with his life. Light Pulse follows up the roam as well from Paka. So despite the initial play being made by Randoms, it's traded back by Dignitas. Drag does go over on the backside. You like to see it. Short Hop having, the wherewithal to take that one away early Infernal. Going to stack towards a potential Mountain or Ocean Soul in this one. But gold critically remaining ever so slightly in favor of Dignitas.
It looks like we have a bit of a break in the action, Hawk. I want to kind of bring up a bit of a question for you. While we were in draft, we mentioned some of the win conditions for these teams. We think that Dignitas Mirage wins when they are ahead in the early game, and AOE Randoms wins when they're in the mid game, especially through their bottom side. And right now, seeing 2 kills on Cal early on, seeing the gold lead in Dignitas Mirage's favor, how do you think Dig has performed in the early game? And do you think they're doing their part?
Yeah, I think Dig has performed very well, and I think actually AOE has not allowed them the windows to really punish mistakes that we may have seen from this team in previous weeks, which potentially speaks to some of the growth of AOE. Cyber, he's done well in this Lee Sin, obviously 1-0-1 off of some nice counter ganks, but they've not really found any meaningful advantages outside of the Herald. Now they're making a proactive play, but you're pretty deep on a tower there, Light Pulse. Just gonna go down.
Already deleted with that Chain of Corruption. Rift Herald is going to get its proc in, and honestly, that knockup might have actually bought Dignitas Mirage enough time to get out with their lives. The only casualty in that exchange is Light Pulse and a couple of extra turret plates on the other side.
Yeah, Mirage are starting to just get a little bit frustrated with how slow this early game's been. They don't need to get ahead to win necessarily, but I feel like they do have the better early game composition. They feel like they can force on the bottom side, against the likes of Varus, as ult's being traded here on the top side. Leo's here.
Yeah, here he is. The sun won't hit, but does have the Heartbreaker. Going to use it, dash forward. Doesn't get the damage critically, though. Light Pulse is here to try and peel away, and now the damage from Dig can potentially come through. They're under the tower. Leo's going to get hit up by the Sonic Wave, and Cyber has now made it a 3v2. That's not fair, man. Light Pulse going to secure that with the knockup, and Cyber gets the final hit.
AoE just chase a little too deep under that turret, trying to get the enemy top laner, and look at all these minions also dying under the mid turret. So just as Dig goes a little too deep on the bot side, it's AoE going a little too deep on the top side. Leo goes down. So, all across the board, it will be a 1,000 gold advantage for Dignitas, namely coming off the turret plays that they have gotten. Despite, Light Pulse going a little deep under the bot lane turret there, getting taken down, they did get 4 tower plates off that one. There's 3 taken off this mid lane turret as well, as the farm lead being up by 20. So incremental advantages resulting in a slight gold lead. However, as we come into this mid game, we talked about Dignitas Mirage. They played the early game pretty well, but the single target damage, the ability to blow up an individual member here for AoE cannot be understated. So Dignitas, they need to be careful to position properly around this mid game to not get caught out, to not get immediately taken off the map.
Yeah, and we're talking about single target bursts here for AoE Random. The response for Dignitas is going to be pretty big. Pocket's going to come in here, land the headbutt, pulverize onto the player that I wanted to talk about just for a little bit. Light Pulse on this Rakan has done a really good job at peeling for some of his teammates, buying enough time to try and keep his team alive. And now with that Zanya's Hourglass potentially being built up, we know he continues to want to go in and make plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And Light Pulse has really followed the pace of the game, I think, very well. He has had good reads. He helped his team gain Herald as, Chain of Corruption, opportunistic, just going to go wide right there for Short Hop. But he's tried to be proactive on the map, not just let Pakas have run of everything. And it's really worked out well. He has 2 kill participation to his name. And although he has gone down a couple times, it's not entirely unexpected. He is still playing an engaged support. And although the bot lane pressure hasn't amounted to too many significant advantages, it's mostly been the kills coming off of counter ganks here. so far for Cal. River control in favor of AoE, but this Rakan still has so much engaged threat. So I'm looking for Light Pulse to sort of start off these fights for his team.
Definitely so. And as we take a look, we're here at the 15-minute mark. It's been a relatively tame game, I would say, Hawk. And I feel like this is just kind of the calm before the storm. We know that these teams really like the team fight. We take a look at the gold real quick just to see where everybody's at. We do see a significant advantage towards Cow on the bottom side, whereas on the other team, Josie is ahead in the jungle. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of gold. That's why the matchup here is relatively even so far. Second Rift Herald going to be started up here by Dignitas Mirage, and Cyber probably going to take this one uncontested.
Yeah, this trade makes a lot of sense for Dignitas Mirage. They've got both mid and bot turrets so low. They should be able to just summon Herald here in the mid lane to threaten the turret and then rotate their pressure down towards the bottom side for a potential dragon fight or just to dive the turret after the back. So, yes, they are going to go mid. They should summon up this Herald to knock down the turret, get that first turret bonus goal, but AoE, that's all about the dragon. Here comes the engage.
From Pock is already coming in, but DNA is going to land a 3-man pop. And that is the damage, the AoE coming against AoE as Tail picks up 2 kills. Chim is trying to get alive here, has the ultimate, but not going to be enough. First tower and 4 kills go over to Digmig.
Wow, Dignitas Mirage, they get Death Rush, but they don't care. It's all about the AoE right there and not the team. The Xayah and... Oh, short hop. Gonna get caught out in the jungle right there. It's gonna be a delayed, or, well, it will be an ace coming through from Dignitas. 5-for-0, and Grapes, the game just blew open. The Xayah and the Nico just blow everybody up, and your ADC's not even there for AoE. They try to take the fight to save their mid turret, but they get punished hard. Now a 4,500 gold lead. Tower going over. Turret going over as well. So Dignitas, they get everything.
We were talking about a lot of the dive potential here for AoE randoms, but if everyone dives in at once, that leaves everybody grouped up for the Nico ultimate, for the Xayah callback, for even the Lee Sin kick that we saw out of Cyber. And that was really a crucial moment there in this game. AoE randoms have really taken a significant hit as Dignitas Mirage has kind of blown the game open a little bit, up about 4,500 gold. We saw the gold a couple of minutes ago and it was even, now not so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we talked about just earlier the single target burst from AoE, and they didn't really have that yet. You know, Diana does a lot of damage, but they didn't have the Varus to lock down a target for any sort of follow-up. So everyone just sort of flashed out of the Diana ult. The re-engage from Dig was just so potent. Jack's TP doesn't mean anything when it's late to the party, and I feel like we're sort of seeing shortcomings of the AoE composition. You don't really have enough crowd control to lock everybody down that you need to on Dignitas Mirage, and then the re-engage potential is just way too strong from Dig. So they win the first major team fight of the game. They do find themselves with a major advantage, and although AoE is certainly not out of the game yet, I mean, this game has just gone wildly in favor of Dignitas. They're going to take down now their 3rd outer turret of the game, their 4th one total as the mid lane tier 2 went down as well. Cyber, 304 on the Lee Sin. Cal, 402 on the Xayah. These guys are huge.
Yeah, and not just in kills, in terms of items as well. Cyber nearly completing that second item Sterix Gauge, and on the other side, Cal has 2 completed items already on his own. 18 minutes in, pretty big here for the Digmig AD carry. On the other side, Short Hop, the player that we had a lot of hype around. Hawk, I know you particularly had a lot of hype around Short Hop coming into this series, has kind of struggled so far. Cal and Light Pulse doing a lot of work, getting those 2v2 kills in the bottom side, and the team fighting has also just been incredible.
Yeah, I feel like the team fights are almost too fast-paced for the likes of Varus. Although this champion does a lot of burst damage, as we've said, like it's so hard to play Varus when everyone just wants to go in and die immediately. There's not really any tanks on either composition, but there's so much dive on both of them. So basically everybody is a target to get one shot, including this immobile Varus. You don't have something like the Featherstorm to try to get you out of a bad situation. So, you know, it's been a difficult for Short Hop to position so far this game, and all credit to Digmig. They've punished extremely well. They've not really allowed him to sort of sit back, poke, play the slow game before these team fights, because of course AoE had the setup around that dragon, but they chose to fight outside of the Fog of War advantage that they did have, and got punished immensely.
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting point that you bring up, Hawk. Having the team fights for AoE randoms be drawn out a little bit more, especially considering that Leo is on this this team with that Viego pickup, getting those possessions is going to be super key. And if they all happen at once, not super important. So making sure that Leo is able to get those resets win one at a time, become super strong, definitely going to be crucial. Chim might be a bit caught out in the 1v3. Sonic Wave is going to connect, and Cyber is going to just, bait us a little bit. I was excited to go really high up for a second, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen just yet.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing that you see in your ranked games where they flash mastery after dashing in and then Wing out. But, just making Chim think about it. Is he going to dive me? Is he not? It's mental warfare, Grapes. And it does seem like Dignitas is using that mental warfare to take control of the map. This bot lane tier 2 down to half HP. It should go down on this wave as Cal just going to clear out the minions, get some extra gold in his back pocket. Dragon spawning in a minute. You'd have to think that one will go over uncontested to Dignitas Mirage as they have control everywhere. Every single turret outside of the base is already gone just 21 minutes in. They have accelerated this game within the last 5 minutes, going from merely a 1,000 gold lead to now a 6,000 gold lead. It's 5 turret lead. Dignitas just so far ahead. And right now, if I'm AoE, I just want to see you freeze in the side lanes. You're not going to get this dragon. You got the first one. It's not going to be soul point for Dignitas. You can afford to give this one over. Try to freeze up. Get 2 items on all your major carries. That way, you've already got Divine Sunder on your 2 bruisers. You can try to move towards the likes of the Sterix Gauge. You can try to get, the Manamune and the Muramana completed there for Short Hop. He's only about 57 mana away from having that tier fully stacked. You just need to complete items right now because this Lee Sin, this Xayah, Cal is sitting on 3 items, but it looks like Pak is going to get caught out.
Yeah, we're another Cal there. Pak is forced to pop the ultimate in his own jungle, and that's a crucial cooldown. And it looks like Dignitas Mirage think is crucial enough to potentially start this Baron up. It's ticking rather slowly as it is only 22 minutes in, but Josie has to make a move quickly or else AOE Randoms are going to lose this objective immediately. Leo is here, has the miss going forward. The Baron is already at 3,500 HP, but Light Pulse is going forward first. Going to land a 2-man quickness. Looks like the Pop Awesome will get Zanya's away from it. Randoms is potentially looking to go forward, but the Baron's already been secured. A kill already over to Josie, and it looks like Dignitas Mirage get away scot-free.
Yeah, they get away scot-free. They do lose the Dragon. Chim was soloing that one out, but AoE just not finding the damage anywhere. The Zonia's on DNA, getting so much value there, and Josie just can't stay alive long enough on this Diana pick, and that was sublime macro play from Dignitas. They basically dare AoE to face check into them. They know the support's at half health and can't really dive in without giving over his life. And, when you've got a fed Lee Sin and a fed Xayah, you can basically 2-man the Baron, so they send their kill squad out over the wall to completely zone them off. They bluff that AoE doesn't want to take the fight, and they were correct. They get a kill, they get the Baron, and they get even more control.
On the other side, though, we did see Chim pick up that second dragon for his team. That Mountain Drake going to be pretty crucial, especially when you consider a lot of the burst potential that Dig Mig have in their kits, things like the Pop Blossom and the Xayah callback. So this is definitely an important dragon to pick up for AoE Randoms, especially when you consider the soul could be delayed here. And now Dignitas Mirage are going to have to make a pretty big play here on this push.
Yep, they will, and they have the means to do so. They don't really need to dive any turrets because the wave clear isn't really there. It's all on this Varus if you're AoE, but look, that's all the spells down. The arrow not doing enough damage, so Cal can pretty freely step up to this turret. There's not a massive threat of getting one shot with his whole team behind him. The cannon just chunking it so low, it's going to go down with 1 or 2 more auto attacks. So Dig looking really strong. They're going to try to make an attempt in the mid lane.
Yeah, Dragoon stuck in a 1v2, has so much healing for the needlework though, and it looks like he's going to get out with his life. Light Pulse going to charm up Chim and take him down. Chain of Corruption is going to try and do a lot to stall out the rest of Dignitas Mirage, but it looks like Leo is kind of on the wrong side here. It's now a 4v5 as Dig continues to push forward.
Yeah, Dig continue to push forward!
Oh, my Short Hop gets bursted immediately. That's the burst potential of a Gale Force Xayah already taking down the enemy AD carry. Cyber has found Leo in his own jungle, and it looks like it's going to be all Dig Mig all over the map. Inhibitor has been destroyed, and Josie and Pockets are the only ones left alive.
Yeah, it's looking like Dig can just end the game. Josie going to try to go in.
Does do a nice, decent amount of damage onto Cal. Not even going to be able to pick up a kill onto the AD carry. Pockets versus the world is not a good thing if you are AoE Randoms. We thought that this series was going to be a banger, and we already see amazing play coming out from Dignitas Mirage as they take down the Nexus in 25 minutes and go up 1-0 in the series.
Dignitas Mirage making a statement here in game one that they want revenge. My, oh my, 25 minutes in with a 12,000 gold lead and a 12 kill lead. They take an easy first game victory. AOE, they locked in what was a skirmishing, split push, focus composition, but Dignitas, they say, we'll take that bet. Lock in the Lee Sin for their mid laner, their jungler. Lock in the Nico for their mid laner. They get the pressure in those two roles. They force AOE to respond to their plays, to respect the potential. And as soon as AOE made one mistake around the 15-minute mark, it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, and that was a crucial fight around that dragon. And so much credit has to be given to DNA and Cow on these two main carry burst champions, doing so much damage in those team fights and basically not allowing AOE randoms to even play the game in those crucial moments. It looked like key carries were down before the fight even started. And this was a very dominant win coming out from Dignitas Mirage. They want to make a statement here in this series. They want to show that that series that they had against randoms, yes, last tournament was a fluke, and they're here to strike back.
Yeah, and it felt like Dignitas Mirage came in with a bit of a prepared draft this time around against randoms. They got the Xayah, they got the Nico, two champions that really want people to dive into them so that they can re-engage. And then the Lee Sin as well, talked about it so much. Just the threat of its early game skirmish potential forced AOE randoms to change their game plan around it, and they weren't able to adapt well enough. So now Dignitas has showed their hand. They said, AOE, if you want to try to team fight us in the mid game, we will do it better. Now, how does AOE respond in game number 2? I think that's the big question.
We know that their mentals are strong, and we know that their drafts can get really creative. And so I'm really excited to see what this squad decides to bring to the table here for game 2, which will be getting underway in just a couple of minutes. We'll take a short break, be right back here for Champion Select. Welcome back, everybody, to the Esports at AOE Twitch channel. EGL Summer Showdown Day 2 going underway here. Going pretty smoothly here, I think, Hawk. And in this game 1 that we just saw, Dignitas Mirage took down AOE Randoms and are setting themselves up for match point and revenge from their matchup against them in Risen.
Yeah, absolutely. Dignitas just taking control of that game. It was a very quiet first 15 minutes, but the game immediately started exploding from that point on once we hit the 15-minute mark around that third dragon spawn, as I do believe we will have some highlights coming up for you all from that previous game. This is what was the deciding fight, I feel like, in the game, just around 15 minutes. As we see, AOE, they try to death brush it in, as well as teleporting their Jax, but it's just the re-engage of that Xayah, of that Nico, that was so devastating. And from this point on, I feel like it was just impossible for AOE to really do anything.
Yeah, the snowball potential for AOE Randoms definitely was there, especially with these chip picks like this Varus, like this Diana. And once that they lost that fight at the Baron, at the Dragon Pit, was pretty hard for them to come back. We see here the fight going on around the Baron. And while Chim was taking that Dragon on the bottom side, there's really no area for AOE to try and contest.
Yeah, I mean, there just wasn't. Dignitas understood that they were just stronger at that at the point of the game after the fighting. And then, we have the final fight of the game. Gwen is a balanced champion, heals for 1,000,000 HP in the 2v1, and that's just going to be all she wrote. As soon after that, Cal wants Short Hop to know who he thinks the better AD carry is in this one. Just going to one-shot him with the Gale Force, gets the Featherstorm on the headbutt, pulverize Dignitas. They end the game in short order. Just 10 minutes after that, what was the decisive team fight around that third dragon, they walk it down and take down the Nexus. So really, really impressive showing from them. And I'm sort of looking for Randoms to adapt their draft, because I feel like Dignitas, as we said, after last game, they came in with a plan to counter-engage on the proactivity of Randoms, and they executed on that win condition. So now it's up to Randoms to try to find an answer.
Well, you're talking about adaptations here for Randoms, and they already made some. Even before the draft is shown up on the screen for you guys, they have selected blue side for this game too, Hawk. I know this is something that we don't typically see out of this squad, which leads us to think that they have something specific in mind with that first pick.
Yeah, I'm actually really eager to see what they go towards, because typically on blue side, you can sort of look for less targeted bans in favor of getting better picks for yourself, where, Dignitas was sort of forced to ban out, or they felt like they were forced to ban out Ziggs, Irelia, Jace last time around. And AoE, they actually banned the Xin Zhao, which we saw Josie play in game number 1 against Supernova yesterday. It looked very, very good. Xin Zhao in general, one of the better junglers in the current meta. So you can sort of force Dignitas to ban out something that they don't want to and try to change up your game plan. We have seen Dignitas take red side and basically every game that they've had available to them so far, improving grounds. But maybe just maybe go into that blue side, getting higher priority picks, not counter picking solo lanes, which I feel like has not worked out actually for Randoms as well against solo laners the caliber of Dragoon and DNA, might be the key that they need to sort of get more advantageous matchups across the board with a more synchronous composition.
It's interesting to bring up the kind of the focus on power picks here, Hawk, because in that first game, we saw Gwen, Viego, and Diana all left up. And so now as we head into the draft, it'll be interesting to see if any of the bans change, especially considering that the teams have switched sides. And already we see that Gwen taken away by Dig.
Yep, they feel like they cannot give over the Gwen to AoE. So already they're forced to ban out something that they might have not necessarily wanted to. AoE, they can now target ban with all 3 of their bans towards Dignitas Mirage. It will be the meta Gwen Xin Zhao taken away. And I think it makes sense to take away the Gwen if you are Dignitas Mirage. We saw how insane it was for Dragoon last time around. He actually did the most damage on his team, despite not fighting as much, I feel like, as the likes of Cal on that Xayah. So I'm wondering what Randoms wants to go towards for their first pick. I could see something along the lines of the Diana for Josie. I would not want to see him go back to it after we saw how well Cyber did on the Lee Sin. Maybe something as well like the Nautilus or Leona, which was banned in the second phase last time, to try to get that in the hands of Pacus. But it's going to be the Aurelia Hover, which was indeed banned out last game.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Hawk, Aurelia and... Oh, wow. I had a whole point there. Not going to be important. That's why we don't talk about hovers.
The bane of analysis.
Number 1 here. Viego getting picked up instead by AoE Random. This was a pick that didn't have as much prio as I think a lot of people would have wanted to see out of Leo here in the middle lane. The Jace is still available for Leo. We have seen Josie play this Viego in the past. And now with Lee Sin Thresh taken away, opens up a lot of doors for AoE Randoms.
So this is really interesting. Thresh was taken away, as well as Callista, in the second round of bans by AoE last time. So now they're sort of taking the Thresh and they're making AoE wonder if the Shadow Isles duo will come through. Do you pick the Callista here as a steal for Randoms, which we haven't really seen Short Hop play? It's not been one of his champions, and risk giving that one over? Looks like they want to get the higher priority Tristana, which I think makes a lot of sense. It is, again, a flex pick. So it does well into the Callista decently as well. So, but, you know, I like how Dignitas sort of is applying pressure with that Thresh pick to make Randoms respect the Callista pick. To go briefly back to the Viego as well, I like this Viego pick a lot better as a blue 1 instead of an R1, because last game we saw it as in tandem with the Diana, which immediately kind of removes any flex value that the pick might have had, but still, it could be going mid, top, or jungle. You don't really know. Whereas last time around, the Diana removed any sort of mystery behind the pick. Blitzcrank Syndra gonna round it out. Blitzcrank, really fun hook roam champion, and its standard control mage coming out for DNA.
Well, yeah, Pacus did bring out this Blitzcrank against Supernova yesterday into the Thresh. Seems like that's sort of the combo, the counter that they were looking for here. Paired alongside a potential Tristana here for Short Hop, allows a lot of all-in potential in the bottom lane. On the other side, though, man, it's DNA Syndra. This is super exciting. Answers into the Tristana pretty decently as well. Could force that pick into the bottom lane.
Yeah, I actually think that the Tristana should go bot with the Syndra pick coming out. It seems like this might have even been prepared. Syndra, not really a big part of the meta, but she just outranges Tristana and sort of forces Tristana to play more aggressively than she'd maybe like in that matchup. And although we've mostly seen Leo on the Tristana in Proving Ground so far, it's not been as much of a Short Hop champion. I'm sure he's got it in his wheelhouse and could pilot it to a lot of to high effectiveness, you know, and avoid sort of a difficult matchup there in mid lane. But regardless, we will see all the flex picks revealed here as blue 4 and 5 will round out the composition for AoE.
Yep, Aphelios for Cal going to match up with Light Pulse's Thresh on the bot lane for Dignitas Mirage. And this Syndra pickup for DNA is super exciting. Back in the Spring Split, this is one of his mainstay champions, one of his mains, definitely associated with the Syndra pickup, I would have to say, as Dignitas made their push into Proving Grounds last split. And so I'm excited to see it bring out again, even though it hasn't been too heavily involved into the meta. On the other side, though, we see AoE Randoms locking in that Diana, which means that we're going to see that Viego in a solo lane again.
Oh, I gotta be honest, not a fan of Josie's Diana coming out this time around. I mean, there's so many disengaged options already on the side of Dignitas Mirage, and we talked about the difficult matchup into the Lee Sin early game last time around, so I'm not really sold on this one, despite a more squishy and immobile backline. It looks like it's going to be a Viego mid one more time, as well as, again, as I hope to see, Tristana going into the bot lane for Short Hop to try to take advantage of the immobile duo of Thresh Aphelios. Although that is a very strong 2v2, you got the Blitzcrank behind you. The all-in threat from this bot lane is high. However, again, mid-jungle 2v2 is in favor of Dignitas.
Yeah, definitely so. That bot lane for Dig was really prevalent in game one that we didn't really expect to see potentially, especially considering Short Hop and Pockets' dominance so far in the Proving Ground split. But that is a Mordekaiser lock-in for Dragoon. I'm super excited to see this. It is a good answer into that Wukong. Doesn't really allow the Wukong to get his passive at all with a lot of the magic damage here. And so Dragoon does play this pick a lot, and I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a big, beefy front line that does pretty well into the Wukong. It doesn't matter if you're going into your Shroud, with your clone, if you're just in the Death Realm. So Chim gonna have to play carefully. I feel like Dragoon has gotten the better of him in all the matches we've seen between these two so far, and now with a counter pick of his own, I'm excited to see how he's able to pilot this one, as we are soon going to be getting underway in the client draft. 2 more skirmish-heavy compositions coming out. However, I feel like Dignitas Mirage this time around spec just a bit more into the team fighting.
Yeah, and I feel like, once again, Dignitas Mirage have prio in a lot of their lanes. They have the bot lane with the Aphelios Thresh, they have this Mordekaiser into the Wukong, and they have this Syndra pickup into a Viego that, as we saw in Game 1, lost a lot of that lane priority, that lane sustain that he had before the nerfs took him down just a notch. So it's going to be interesting, again, to see how Dignitas Mirage pilot this early game, because it's going to be really crucial to their success.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And again, AoE sort of needs to get in the ahead in the mid game. They don't really have the winning lanes that they need to get ahead before then. So they need to be very careful about what Dignitas Mirage is able to do in the first, 8 minutes of the game, pre-level 6 on the junglers in particular. Cyber, I feel like, pathed extremely well in the last game to sort of deny any sort of positive play that AoE randoms tried to go for. So I'm looking for Josie this time around to try to be a little bit more creative in his pathing, not allow Cyber to counter every single play with a response from Dignitas. And I feel like that is the mark of a good jungler. How well are you tracking the enemy jungler? How well are you following the plays that he wants to make to punish them back? So far, Cyber has done that well. And on the Lee Sin one more time, definitely going to be a big threat.
Yeah, definitely so. And we saw this matchup, as you said, Hawk, in that last game, the Diana into the Lee Sin, and it didn't, while it did seem like Josie was able to get a significant farm advantage, kind of push the tempo in terms of his clear speeds, at the end of the day, the team fighting that we were so much looking forward to for Josie towards the mid game, late game stages weren't really there. Maybe it was because the game ended too quickly before Josie got the time to scale, but that just means that the rest of Dignitas Mirage were doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. Dignitas just, slammed the door shut as soon as they found a meaningful lead. It was just incremental advantages, growing into a measly 1,000 gold lead at 15 minutes, and they blew it wide open. The doors came off their hinges at that dragon fight. So I think it comes down to AoE randoms not making a critical mistake like that, using their tools effectively. I feel like their pick composition is even better this time around with the non-committal sort of pick tool of the rocket grab. You can never disrespect the power of the Blitzcrank hook coming over a wall from the darkness, right? So I'm interested to see. I think Pocket's going to need to be a massive catalyst for his team. And as always, Josie needs to make plays happen, but not at the expense of Cyber getting ahead.
Yeah, and I think the setup here for AoE randoms around Josie's Diana is a little bit better than it was in Game 1. You have a player like Chim on the Wukong who can really go in, do a lot of things. Yeah, and especially I wanted to add towards that bottom lane with that Tristana Blitzcrank combo. It really does a whole lot of damage. Just Blitzcrank lands the hook or even the rocket fist, and then Tristana just jumps in with the rocket jump, lands those explosive shots, doing an insane amount of damage, and maybe just allowing Josie to come in and clean up. So I like the setup here a little bit better than that Varus Alistar that we saw at a Short Hop in Pockets, especially when we were considering oh wait, hold on 1 second, Hawk, bit of a problem here. We're taking a look at the client draft. It's not on your screen. It turns out all the analysis that we were talking about was wrong. Josie on the Viego in the jungle, and Diana going to be going over towards Leo in the mid lane. This was something that we brought up in Game 1, but now that we're here in Game 2 and we saw kind of where they were going, I wasn't really expected to talk about it very much, but the flag's potential still obviously is very much there.
Yeah, and I will say, it doesn't really change much. Viego still wants to just be the farming jungler in the early game against this Lee Sin, and Lee Sin wants to be the one that sort of punishes that. I will add, Viego's dueling potential is higher, as well as neutral objective pressure, but his skirmishing is a little bit worse. Less reliant on level 6 as well. So early levels, he'll be a little bit more self-sufficient, but it will still struggle against the Lee Sin in general in terms of generating tempo. Mid lane, Diana is still going to get pushed in. However, it's a slightly less interactive trading pattern for the Syndra to deal with. She hits the Q, she E's onto you. If you don't have stun, you take a lot of damage. That's how it goes, basically, there in the mid lane. So I feel like the lanes will still play out similarly, but it is interesting. Josie getting a little bit more of a dueling carry, and Leo going to be the one trying to make these team fights happen. I actually sort of like this because I think the individual agency in the mid lane of the Diana is higher, and that is what's important, because also individual agency in top lane and bot lane. I feel like Wukong in the early game, especially level 6, does a little bit more on its own than the Jax. Tristana as well. You know, it can jump in, it can jump out. So I'm liking the adaptation for randoms, but I think Dignitas Mirage, they also have some answers.
Yeah, some spicy shakeups here for AOE Randoms, to say the least. And we'll see if they can cook up a victory here in this game, too. Going to be crucial, obviously, to save the series, as they are down 0-1 against Digmig. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with action, and I know you're going to want to see it. Welcome back, everybody, to Summoner's Rift. Game 2 of the EGL Summer Showdown has gone underway here on the AOE Twitch channel. AOE Randoms are on your blue side. Dignitas Mirage are on your red side. Hawk, for this AOE Random squad, a crucial Game 2 to even themselves out in the series and potentially go for a lock in the playoffs.
Yep, Dignitas Mirage putting AoE on the ropes in their quest for playoffs, but it's not over yet. That's why we're playing best of threes. AoE going down 0-1 in this one, but they're out to keep this one going. And Dignitas, they want to keep their tournament hopes alive by picking up a big win right here. They've got their man Cyber back on the Lee Sin, sitting on your screen, kiting around the Raptor camp, and both teams, I feel like, going for similar compositions to what we saw last game. A lot of heavy dive coming out for AoE, albeit with a bit more agency, perhaps, in the crowd control department and sort of, their ability to start fights. And Dignitas, they get a lot of kite back potential.
Certainly so. And it looks like right now, once again, going to see opposite side starts for the junglers. Both Cyber and Josie will be on their red buffs to kick things off. Probably going to see a bit of a full clear. Would be interested to see if Cyber goes for anything unusual on the Lee Sin. Didn't see anything too crazy besides him skipping his Krugs, which you typically do on Lee just to get to that crab faster. But other than that, things are pretty standard to start off. And the lanes are definitely an interesting thing to look at here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially in these solo lanes, we've seen, for the most part, Dignitas Mirage just outperform in the laning phase against both Leo and Chim for the likes of DNA and not Cyber Dragoon. So I'm interested to see if they're able to continue that performance with what should be favorable lane matchups early on. But it is Chim using the shove potential, actually, of this Wukong at level 1 that he holds over the Mordekaiser with the long cooldown Q to try to take early control of this lane and not let Dragoon just, freely shove him in, as we've seen happen so often, especially, because I think after level 2, this matchup will be slightly more Mordekaiser favored.
Yeah, I think early on, the Wukong might have the potential to go in there with some of those E's and just kind of poke out and zone off Dragoon a little bit. But remember, in these extended trades, Dragoon definitely has the edge with the passive advantage here with that kind of storm going around the Mordekaiser. Once he picks up those 3 hits, will make extended fighting against him. It's something that Wukong really likes to do pretty hard.
Yeah, and, all that armor that Wukong's stacking up with that passive 2, not going to mean a damn thing up against the likes of a Mordekaiser. So definitely will make it difficult. But, as we said early on, Wukong does have just a lot of mobility and a lot of ways to just sort of harass you for a melee champion. So, Chim making use of that, getting early CS lead and pushing in the lane. But here on the bot side, the range advantage of the Aphelios will net early shove for Cal. Not surprising. We saw this last time around with the Xayah and Varus matchup. However, Short Hop doing much, much better in the CS department this time around, picking up most of the minions in the first couple waves, only being down about 3.
Yep, and with that early prio, Chim is able to go down to the Rift Scuttler to prevent Josie from getting any sort of intervention given over to him. Looks like it wouldn't have really mattered anyway, with Cyber already on this bottom side, picking up that Scuttler as well. So far, it's pretty standard going on for both of these teams, and I think the main thing to look out for is just as the game sort of slowly unfolds and as the junglers begin to interact a little bit more.
Yep, and we're seeing the pathing for both junglers on the first path be identical as, as the last game, where Josie gets a leash clear, full clear on the bottom side, and Cyber gets leashed up on the top side. But this time around, Cyber decides to full clear and recall instead of looking for any early plays. He fell about 20 seconds behind Josie due to that last time. This time around, he makes the adaptation. Let's see if he's able to punish with just being a little bit faster on tempo. We already see, he played a very good game despite losing that little bit of tempo last time around. Now this time, he's back out on the map early. Dragoon is pushing in. He might be able to try to contest for deep vision and control up here on the top side of the map, or just continue to full clear down towards his bottom side and apply pressure to Short Hop.
Yeah, it looks like either of them are a pretty big deal. Teleport coming in from DNA pretty aggressively here. Is level 5 because the bot lane has come up as well. Scattered Leak going to land. The Flay will do a lot here, and the root coming out of the Aphelios is huge. Cal is going to get the last hit and pick up first blood for Digmig.
Yeah, just a really nice play there from Dignitas Mirage. They roam their bot lane up the mid at just 4.5 minutes into the game. Leo not expecting it at all. I'm not sure if it wasn't communicated, if they thought they backed perhaps on the shove, but regardless, that's a kill onto this Aphelios. Cow getting another early kill, and this time there's no response on the first blood like we saw last time around. So that is absolutely massive. Dignitas Mirage with another great early move.
Yeah, and that is the prio advantage that we were talking about, Hawk. Having Cow and Light Pulse on this Aphelios Thresh combination really allowed them to go for that roam, get the push in, and end up getting a kill onto Leo. Obviously, not the biggest deal for the mid laner as he was able to just teleport back in safely, but it is big for the bottom lane. Cow picking up those Berserker's Greaves super early on, going to have another big advantage in this bottom lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, Leo had actually teleported back to the mid lane right as he got killed there. They got him with the Scout of the Week. So that means that's another tool not available to the Diana to get back into that lane. So he loses out on just a little bit of CS. And DNA, although he does save his coming back, as I believe his was also down, so CS evens out slightly. It's just still more being missed. It's more tempo being lost. And it means that after their bot lanes reset, they're able to just start up this dragon with the aforementioned item advantage on the Aphelios.
And with that, first Drake will once again be picked up here by Dignitas Mirage. Cyber eventually going to get that last hit through. And yeah, just allowing those lanes to continue their pressure just lets Cyber come in and take away that dragon. And that's the thing about these lanes for AOE randoms. While they do have a lot of pressure being applied to them constantly, if they can get an all in, things could get a little bit spicier. But until that happens, Dignitas Mirage are going to continue to push their advantages. They have the dragon, they have a 500 gold.
Yeah, and it's sort of a similar problem that we're seeing in Game 1, where Lee Sin is just such a high-tempo jungler that even, strong individual champions like Viego and Diana themselves that we've seen Josie play in the series, while they don't have bad early games, just the amount of pressure that Lee Sin can exert on the map so early on in the game forces the game to be played a different way around the champion. And I feel like AoE just hasn't quite been able to adapt to the speed of Cyber on this one. So, really impressive stuff coming out from him, and I've loved to see him pilot this champion to create incremental advantages like this. Even though it doesn't look like much, it's only a kill and a dragon ahead. It's the pressure game. It's that tempo, that ever-present ebb and flow, the responses to the plays. I feel like Dignitas Mirage is just ever so slightly ahead on, and it all starts with Cyber.
Yeah, and Hawk, I think one of the first things that you brought up while we started the stream up was this jungle matchup, and Cyber doing a really good job matching up into Josie once again. Light Pulse making another roam back into the middle lane just to allow DNA to continue his prio air into Leo. And for now, Dignitas Mirage still have a lot of the advantage in a lot of the lanes, which allows Cyber and Light Pulse to roam free.
Yep, absolutely. And it is worth noting, AoE doesn't need to snowball quite as much as they did last time. They don't need to be as far ahead in the mid game because their scaling is very good. You've got a Tristana, Diana, Viego, Wukong. Like, they all are great late game champions in their own right. And we saw Light Pulse used his pressure advantage to roam towards the mid lane. So what is the response there? Newton's Law of League of Legends is Pacus goes top. They're going to take the Herald. They actually swap their entire bot lane up there. They want to try to get Short Hop out of the disadvantage lane matchup and try to take turret plates with this Tristana. So I really like this rotation from AoE. They're going to try to deny from the solo lanes. Wukong, while he wants to be ahead, he can still just ult in these team fights, right? Mordekaiser needs more gold. He's a higher income champion. So they're going to deny the Mordekaiser at the expense of Chim and get their man Short Hop ahead. I said he's one of the best AD carries in Proving Grounds. This is the guy you want to put your eggs. He's the basket that you want to put your eggs in.
Yeah, definitely. And on top of that, he's on this Tristana pickup. We saw AoE Randoms utilize the Tristana perfectly in their series against Supernova. Sure, it was on Leo instead of Short Hop, but I think the concept still remains here. On the other side, though, Chim in a bit of trouble here, stuck in a 1v3, using the cycle into zone out. Nice flash coming out from him to dodge away from the Sonic Wave from Cyber, and the knockups are still coming through. Light Pulse are taking turret aggro. This could be a bit dangerous. Chim survives the 1v3 somehow, some way. Not going to matter too much, though, because the tower is still taking a decent amount of hits. Pacus has finally arrived back in his home lane. And after all that, we still have to talk about first brick taken up in that top side by Short Hop.
Yeah, wow, Chim really nicely played right there. And the swap paying off in spades here for AoE. They get the first turret using the Herald and the tower taking ability of the Tristana. And Chim dodges both CC abilities on the Thresh using his clone. He uses the knockup from his ultimate to interrupt Cyber's Q, and although he almost goes down, he just kites it out perfectly, holding onto his flash for just the last moment. And even almost took down Cyber on the backside. Pacus as well, recalling up there by the Raptor Pit, understood that he didn't need to help his team on the top side. He gets there for the support, means that they cannot prolong the play. So not only does he keep the turret alive, he keeps his life. Gold is equalized. Hours in favor of AoE, and Dragon now spawning in a minute. They can force their pressure down back towards the bottom side, while Chim will be able to freely push up on the top side with teleport available. He does need to be careful without flash up, but AoE with a really nice macro rotation, bringing this game back to even.
Yeah, and a large part of that was also short hop on that Tristana, getting those explosive shots in, combined with the Rift Herald to allow that first brick to go down. Funneling gold into the AD carry, always generally a good idea, especially when it's short hop here for AoE Randoms. Dragon is going to be spawning in about 30 seconds, so both of the bot lanes have made their way back down, and looks like we might see a bit of a contest as both of the junglers are kind of easing their way over to the pit.
Yeah, and I mean, with that rotation, now both AD carries are unsurprisingly the richest people in the game, but because of that first tower going down, it means that Short Hop is about 200 gold ahead of his opposite number, having 4,400 gold to his name. Richest man on the Rift right now, and as I said, this is the basket that you want to put your eggs in, and AoE, they understand that they still don't win in the skirmish game. They don't have flash on their Wukong as well as pressure, so it seems like they're going to give up early priority around this Dragon, but they're walking into contest now. Dragon down to 1,500. It should go down. No fight to be had.
Yep, no smite from Josie means no contest for AoE Random. Second Dragon of the game secured once again by Dignitas Mirage. They get this 2-0 Dragon advantage, which is going to be pretty crucial for them, especially considering that Infernal Soul that is about to come up.
Yep, Dignitas, they just understand that they're a little bit stronger than their opposition right now. Syndra and Lee Sin are... that's a classic mid-jungle 2v2.
Yeah.
A lot of power between each of them. You know, a mixed damage palette, lots of burst, good CC coming through as well. So there's too much threat from that duo to really make any sort of play happen. But it does mean that Short Hop was able to push in a bot wave and deny that from Cal, so he's a little bit further ahead in his own right. So, you know, although Dignitas is up 2 dragons to nothing, AoE, they're playing the long game. They know that they're looking more towards the later stages of the mid-game when they've got an item or two on each of their major threats, which they are currently approaching. Josie has the Divine Surrender online. I'd have to imagine Short Hop, he should be very close to that Kraken Slayer, maybe just 100 gold away. Is Leo!
Wow! Ultimates traded there. The unleashed power certainly unleashing onto Leo there. DNA with a beautiful kill combined with Cyber in the mid lane. And you talked about this mid lane matchup a little bit, but Leo can't really do anything if he just gets one shot before he dashes in.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why Randoms didn't want to contest Dragon, that's exactly why. They feared that happening to one of their major carries, because Diana and Viego, they may be strong, but they are not tanky enough to survive a Lee Sin and a Syndra coming right at them. So Dignitas, nice play, nice done from DNA as Short Hop able to rocket jump out of that one.
Yeah, we might see another bit of an engage here as Cyber has made his way up to the top side. Death Realm already getting popped here, which means Cyber just has to play the waiting game, but Chimp doing a nice job at dodging out from some of those obliterates coming through from Dragoon. Has a W, doesn't have the flash just yet. Second proc of the Cyclone, gonna do a lot, but Dragoon is gonna pick it up. Now can Josie get anything in return? The answer would probably be no, but Leo might have something to say about that. Teleport also coming in from DNA. The Moonfall is huge, but still a double kill for Dragoon. DNA has come back and secured his kill with the help of his team. It's now 5-0 in favor of Dignitas Mirage, and it might be another one coming up just in a little bit. Short Hop's going to try to get a trade onto Cal. Might get it with the buster shot. He does for the first kill of the game for AoE Randoms. The rocket jump forward. Oh, barely misses out on the damage, but he will secure the double kill, but while he trades his life in return.
AoE, they thought they could get cheeky with the counter gank on the top side, but Chim just went down too early, and the teleport from DNA. That's why you hold on to the Summoner spell. He gets up there to the top side, and it's a 3-for-0 up in the top lane, although Short Hop gets a nice double kill down there on the bottom side to keep his team alive in this one. It's just a drop in the bucket compared to the 3,000 gold lead that Dignitas has to their name. 2-0-1 is Dragoon on the Mordekaiser, once again getting the better of Chim, this time around having the counter matchup, and Leo 0-3-0 on the Diana, looking like the flex hasn't quite worked out.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big thing here. When you think about some of the unusual pickups that we see on either of these teams, Dragoon on the Mordekaiser and Leo on the Diana, pretty different results, I would want to say, from each of them. Ooh, Pockets barely misses that hook, but just, yeah, DeLeo has not really been able to do too much in this game. That Moonfall was pretty huge, but when you're 0-2 without a Mythic completed, not going to do a whole lot of damage. And now Dignitas Mirage kind of get to do whatever they want, and they're going to pick up the second Rift Herald, and they might have found a kill as well. Chim going to get rooted up, and there's a fight on multiple fronts. Cyber goes down on the other side for the third kill, going over to Short Hop, and now Dragoon might have teleported into a bit of a bad spot. Death Realm just coming up, but not in time. Joe's going to come in with the Heartbreaker and potentially look for more. Rocket jump forward, coming out, and the hook from down from Pockets might have bounced out. Light Pulse, the Heartbreaker forward from Josie is not enough to secure the kill just yet. He barely gets away with his life, but Short Hop's still here.
Here comes Short Hop.
Full mana, full resets, gets the double. Can he make it 3? The answer is yes. And AOE Randoms find themselves right back into this game too with an ace of their own.
And just as it looks like Dignitas Mirage is taking control, it's Short Hop on the Tristana, finding 4 kills in that exchange. Dignitas did the one thing that you can't do against a composition like this, and it was split up. Cyber goes down, picking up the Eye of the Herald, while his team kites up to the top side. Dragoon had teleported behind, so they section off the jungler and the top laner. Then in the extended 5v3 for AoE. Dignitas, they get a couple of kills kiting backwards. You know, really nice moves there from Cow and DNA to stay alive for a long time. Just the consistent damage threat of this Tristana, it added up over time, and as soon as he got that one reset, he rocket jumped forward, cleaned up the triple kill, 4 total kills for Short Hop. Pressure over this dragon. He is strong.
Yeah, man, what is it with AoE bot laners and Tristana, man? It has sketch streams with his insane record, and now Short Hop here at 6-1-1. Both of these players doing so good on the Vandal Gunner, and they're going to help pick up that dragon in return. Rift Herald has been popped. Remember that Dig Mirage did pick it up in that exchange, was kind of their only kind of sole thing that they had in that fight, and they are going to use it to pick up 2 turrets. It's going to be pretty massive for them. The gold is right back in their favor.
Yep, right back in their favor. It will be a 2-for-1 tower trade with Dragon going over to AoE, but now with the bonus gold added to tier 2 turrets, have to think that's a little bit more worthwhile for Dignitas Mirage. They don't feel like they need the Soul Wing condition right now. They don't want to face check into a 2-item Tristana, into a Wukong, into a Blitzcrank, so they use the Herald that they all died to get more gold in their back pockets to set themselves up better for the next fight. But AoE, they trade well. They send Leo down to the bottom side, knowing that they already have lost 2 turrets. Dignitas can't extend for 3, so getting a tower for themselves in response as well. Does mean that Dignitas is up just under 2,000 gold, about 1.8 thousand in the lead, so they are still ahead, but the gold ever so slightly being edged closer and closer by AoE as Short Hop on this Tristana. You said it. These AoE ADCs on this one looking strong. 6-1-1.
Definitely, and he's going to be a big factor in any sort of fight that AoE Randoms are going to want to win here in this game too. Remember, they need a win to stay alive in this series. They are down to 0-1 after Digmake took a very convincing win in that game. And that fight was kind of the point in game 1 around that similar time span, around 15 to 18 minutes, where Dig Mirage really took control of the game. And in this time around, while they had control earlier on, it was AoE Randoms who struck back.
Yeah, and I like how you bring up, staying alive in the series. And I think not only staying alive in the series, Randoms sort of fighting to stay alive for their tournament hopes, because the only team they haven't played yet is Zeus. And we know how good Zeus is. They defeated Randoms 3-0 in the Cup semifinals just a month ago. And I'm sure, Randoms, they've gotten better since then, but so has Zeus. They've been looking like one of the best Proving Grounds teams. So you really hope to pick up the win against the likes of Dignitas Mirage if you want to get into those quarterfinals. And likewise, Dignitas Mirage, they need a win here to move on. So you have to think part of this series is fighting for your tournament life if you can take home a win in this one. And Dignitas Mirage, having won the first game, sitting pretty good, but you've got to be able to close.
Yeah, and while both of these teams are looking poised to secure a spot in that Tier 1 Proving Grounds qualifier that's coming up in just a couple of weeks, it's not really about securing the spot. It's about making your presence known. Getting some better seating, and this is where the tables really have to turn here for Dignitas Mirage. They struggled in their last 2 Proving Grounds tournaments. They haven't made it out of groups yet in the summer split, and this was a team that did end up qualifying for Proving Grounds last split. And so seeing them not even making it out of the playoffs so so far. Definitely a bit concerning, but now with the bot lane coming through of Cal and Light Pulse, it seems like this team has started to figure out how they want to play, and the growth definitely has to come through if they want to take this series.
Yeah, I really do think Dignitas has shown a lot of growth with the turbulent summer split that they've had, and I think it comes down, keep saying his name, Cyber. I think this team has learned how to play around him so well, enable him to enable his team, because he's not necessarily the primary carry as nice hook onto the support.
Oh yeah, talking about Light Pulse already gets deleted. 7th kill of the game for Short Hop on the Tristana. Eve getting scarier and scarier by the minute, and with a pick on the support, 20 minutes into the game, it looks like Baron could be a topic of conversation here for the randoms.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Viego Tristana. They're going to do this so fast. Kraken Slayer Tristana on that. Diana coming over. They have teleport up on Dragoon. Light Pulse will be up in 5 seconds. Looks like they're just going to try to fish for a hook with Pacus. Instead, deciding to peel off the Baron. Dragon spawning in 50 seconds. I think they have their eyes on that one. Pacus going in.
Oh, the hook, though. There's like a bit of a field goal coming through from Pockets, obliterated by Cyber and Dragoon. Another pick going on in the opposite side against the support. And so a bit of an overzealous play coming out of Pockets, but out either way, doesn't look like it's too much that has unfolded because of it, but that Dragon is spawning in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I feel like that was a rare moment of panic coming out there from Pacus. Just an overforce there in the mid lane. Really wanted to find a critical pick before the Dragon spawned, but you just don't need to flash in and coin flip a Blitzcrank hook like that. Now you are dead, and although he's back on the map for this potential Dragon fight, will just be a little late to the party. It's just such a loss of pressure after a really nice pick onto the support. So Pacus goes down. It looks like it will be Dragon going over uncontested for Dignitas Mirage.
Yeah, and unless something insanely crazy happens, which doesn't look super possible at the moment, it will be Infernal Soul Point going over to Dignitas Mirage. And Hawk, we were talking about the team fighting of AOE Randoms and how they really are able to get some resets in, do a lot of damage come the late game. And so having this accelerated win condition for Dig is going to be super important in about 5 minutes.
Yep, and it will be something that they force AoE to fight for, as the Baron threat is ever looming here on Summoner's Rift. The threat of that soul means that you can never really set up the Baron if you're AoE without having that Infernal Soul in the back of your mind. That can create some really awkward situations, because especially against the likes of Syndra, of Aphelios, who can siege turrets very well. Giving over Baron is just equally as deadly. So this Dragon Soul threat going to provide a massive boon for Dignitas Mirage as we start moving into the later stages of the game.
Well, with 4 minutes until that crucial Drake ends up spawning, I think a lot of the attention could very well be placed towards the Baron still for the next couple of minutes. And right now it's Dig with the heavy prio into the mid lane. They're going to get that wave down, and they're going to try and clear out some vision. Probably going to be the main focal point here.
Absolutely. And as the game sort of slows down a little bit, I want to just take stock of where we're at. Dignitas is only up about 1,500 gold. The gold lead has not increased over the last 10 minutes, but Short Hop, he has the QSS online, means that he is no longer a viable ult target for a Dragoon. He will always be present in the team fights. Likewise, Sunderer is completed for both the top laner and the jungler, but, Cal also having 2 completed items online, DNA as well, so the carries are on line for Dignitas Mirage. Everybody, in fact, having their first 2 items completed. So they are primed and ready to fight right now, while second item completions having not come through on the majority of the AoE roster. But AoE going to contest Baron Vision successfully, clear out this river. Chim pushing up bot lane as well. They're just going to equalize in the tempo game, as both teams seem like they're content to farm up for the next team fight, potentially around Dragon.
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of the pressure is really brewing here in the game too. It could seem like any moment like this could potentially decide the game. Pockets lands a crucial hook onto Cyber, but he might have actually spelled Josie's doom. Nice usage of the safeguard and the kick to get himself out safely. But that's the danger of this Blitzcrank here for Pockets. One hook, one misplay for a Dig Mig, and it could all be over.
Yeah, but it's actually an advantage play for Mirage. I mean, Josie was forced to flash. Meanwhile, Cyber just ward hopped over the wall. Who's catching out who? Because the kick of the Viego right back into the Syndra did so much damage onto the Viego, and it ultimately isn't going to amount to too much other than, waves being pushed out back and forth. But the Summoner spell being blown there by AoE, not what you would have expected. But as Josie interrupts his mid laner's recall right there, report jungler, jungle diff. But either way,
they thought that the end was still in the jungle. That's what.
Yeah, I know, right? Here, you want a wolf there, Dio? No? Okay, well, that's my bad. But either way, pressure really just going to not amount to anything. Everyone just going to take their reset and start setting up around this Infernal Dragon. But kind of surprising to see. I thought that was a big pick on a Cyber, but tankier than meets the eye with that Sterak's Gauge.
Yeah, but tankier meets the eye is Josie as well. I mean, Lee Sin kick, Syndra ult, everything kind of thrown in onto the Viego, and still, he manages to get out with his life. That Wit's End definitely providing a crucial amount of magic resist alongside those Mercury Treads for the AoE jungler. And that's kind of the problem here for Dignitas Mirage. They need the picks. They need that burst damage coming out of DNA. And if it's not that, you kind of have to just rely on Cow to carry you through that team fight.
Yeah, and I would say I think Aphelios is a pretty good champion to put your faith in to carry a team fight. He's got the Gale Force and the Runehands completed, but critically, no Infinity Edge, whereas the Lord Dominix is there for short hop. Is the Scatter of the Weak barely going to go wide? It's a tense situation, but Chim's on the back!
Already has a Cyclone. Nice usage of the stopwatch from DNA, and Dragoon is already on the case, using that Death Throb to do him well. Here comes the ultimates coming through. Light Pulse is dangerously low, but Short Hop picks up his first kill of the fight. Chim and Josie go down on the backside, and that means Short Hop is forced to get out of the way. That's a big fight coming out from Dignitas Mirage. They get the 2-for-1. They force the resets with Soul coming up in 40 seconds.
Dragoon and DNA, the solo laners of Dignitas Mirage, making that fight look trivial. It was a nice attempt from AoE with the TP flank onto the backside of DNA to try to catch him out, but he gets the Zhonya's off, and then Dragoon gets the ultimate, takes the Wukong out of the fight. DNA hits a massive scatter of the week, but Short Hop!
He's dead! DNA is dead, and Short Hop gets out with his life. Still has the rocket jump to potentially either go in or get out. Cyber's gonna land the Sonic Wave. QSS already popped onto the Tristana, does so much damage. Cow trying to go forward with the Gale Force to do any sort of damage, but it's gonna be Cyber doing the majority of the work. Picks up the kill onto the AD carry, and now with Short Hop down, things can get a little bit spicy. Leo's gonna get hit up once again by Cyber. Looks like that static field gonna do a decent amount. The hook onto Cyber, also doing a decent amount of work. Josie has arrived back to the party. Remember, this is sole point for Dignitas Mirage, and it looks like the fight is gonna continue to happen in just a little bit.
Yeah, but DNA has teleport, and all of the gold is gone for AoE. That's their 9 of 10 kills. You have nothing left without Short Hop. DNA can teleport anywhere behind AoE randoms. I think they have to just give this one over. Hook gonna land onto Pockets. Not going to amount to anything. They're going to try to zone. Can he find the hook? He hits Dragoon, but it's not enough. Here comes the fight.
That could be a really deadly hook for Pockets. Spreading Dragoon right into the Blitzcrank means that he will go down. Infernal Soul for Dignitas Mirage. We were saying things were going towards AoE Random's favor, but it looks like all of that might have just gone right up on its head.
Yeah, it's coming unraveled. Pockets is down, but they have their core 4. You don't need the Blitzcrank here at the Dragon. Everybody is full HP, however, for Dignitas Mirage, and this Baron will go down pretty quickly with that Aphelios damage. They're going to try to collapse in and out from all sides. Baron is down to 7,000 HP. Look for the fight. Leo just takes a million damage.
He gets taken down already. Chimp gonna get one shot as well. Short Hop doesn't have the rocket jump, which means he doesn't have a life. Third death in the game. Put all your eggs in one basket, and it looks like Dig is just gonna squish it right to smithereens.
Man, it just comes down to Short Hop. He made the hero play on the DNA, but they don't let him get away with it. Cyber with the chase down, and all snowballs out of control. Dragon Soul goes down. Baron goes down. The base is going down. 20 seconds on the death timers. I'm not sure if AoE is going to be here to defend this one. It looks like Dignitas, they're going to try to end the game. Hook coming in from Short Pockets. Is it enough?
He gets one shot instantly. It's now Josie in a 1v5. Gonna use the Heartbreaker forward. Doesn't have enough damage. Cow secures what looks to be the final kill of the game. The final kill of the series. Dignitas Mirage want to be known here in the Proving Grounds. They want to earn their ticket right back to the tournament. Chim goes down once again as the 2-0 comes through.
A shocking 2-0 at that. We said Dignitas Mirage wanted revenge for Risen, and they found it. Dignitas Mirage in a crushing upset over AoE Randoms. They find the win. Cyber popping off in both games on this Lee Sin. DNA making it look all too easy, as well as Cal showing up his opposite number in Short Hop. An immaculate series coming through from this team.
Yeah,
I mean, incredible stuff.
Yeah, and this group just got a whole lot more interesting, Hawk. Dignitas Mirage has sent AoE Randoms back down to 1-1. They're going to be 1-1 themselves, and now things are looking pretty interesting here in this series. Dignitas Mirage with a win over Supernova next Monday could secure themselves a spot in the playoffs without any sort of contest from the Randoms, and that is something that I am super excited to see it pans out. There's just so many more scenarios, Hawk. All the scenarios that we were kind of talking about earlier on in the game with all these tiebreakers and things like that, a lot of them just got unlocked here with this win.
Yeah, I mean, this has fully blown open now for the side of Dignitas. I mean, they're now sitting 1-1 with their loss being to Zeus. They're coming up against Supernova next. So that will be an absolutely massive series for both of those teams. You'd have to think there is the potential of a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 across the board if Supernova ends up taking that win. But I mean, now Dignitas is in a position where they could just get an auto bid into the quarterfinals if they take down Supernova.
Yeah, and on the other side, if Zeus end up falling to AoE Randoms now, and if Dignitas Mirage end up taking the win over Supernova, that could mean a whole lot of different things as well. 2-1 on three members in this group. There's just so many different tiebreaker scenarios that can potentially happen. Hawk, it's good to see you back here on the screen, first of all. But this is just a really exciting group, and it just got a whole lot more interesting coming out from the play of Dignitas Mirage.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Dignitas, they are showing that their early games are not to be trifled with. Really impressive stuff from them. And I think that, the growth that we talked about from this team has now come to fruition. They are poised to make the quarterfinals. They control their own destiny if they find themselves a win, right? And they now have taken down their nemesis that knocked them out in the last tournament. So I feel like Dignitas Mirage, this could be the fruits of all their labor showing through.
Yeah, the growth from this squad has been pretty crazy. Going from 4th place in the group in Challengers Uprising to 3rd place in the group in Risen to the potential to get to that 2nd spot here in the final Tier 2 tournament. And this, Hawk, is how you want to kind of develop your team, grow, and continue to just continue to get better as the Proving Ground split continues to move on. Dignitas Mirage look like they're peaking at just the right time.
Exactly. And now you're in a position where if you make the quarterfinals, you're getting best of 5s under your belt. You're able to take on some of the top teams, maybe even win, get even more championship points for themselves. Because as it stands, Dignitas is in a position where they will be at the very bottom of the qualifying tournament for the Proving Grounds, right? So they're still there. But if you're able to make quarterfinals, semifinals, get these championship points, you can kind of climb in the standings, make more of a name for yourselves, and put yourself in a good position. Maybe even get one of the auto bids if you make it to the finals.
Yeah, and on the other side, there's AoE Randoms, who did take this loss here in the series. For every winner, there's a loser, and the loser today is our folks here at Area of Effect. And this is definitely not the loss that they were looking for here. They wanted to secure their spot in the playoffs. We talked to Chim yesterday in their matchup against Supernova, and they sounded pretty confident. And while their mental might not have done super well after that 0-2, I know that they definitely have the potential to bounce back, and they have had the potential to upset teams in the past, and Zeus is definitely a prime target.
Yep, I mean, all eyes on Zeus Gaming. Speaking of revenge, they went down 0-3 against them in the Cup quarterfinals. I believe this will be the first time these two teams are meeting since that time. So, we've seen a big upset revenge story once here against Dignitas Mirage. They were on the short end of the stick this time around, but that doesn't mean they can't do it next time. So I'm very interested to see if Randoms is able to make that happen. I mean, we've seen this team grow and change so much. Their individual talent is immense, and up against the Goliath that is Zeus, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, as we said, Hawk, this group definitely getting really interesting. All of EGL has become super interesting after these first couple of days. And that, especially considering that the Resolve group, oh man, that's just wild over there. Either way, that's going to be it for us here on the AOE Twitch channel. AOE Randoms take a bit of a sad loss here to Dignitas Mirage, but there's nowhere to look then up here in the next coming weeks. Hawk, is there anything you want to say before we close out the show?
All I have to say is I'm impressed with the group, the growth from Dignitas Mirage, and I think AOE Randoms, they came in with a game plan, and it did not work, but that does not mean the tournament's over. It just means that there's a shake up on the horizon. And I think it puts a lot more stock into the matchup between AOE Randoms and Zeus to come.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Hawk, I'd like to thank you so much for being by my side for this cast. Also, shout out to Ibram on the production, doing the work, making us look super good here on the caster desk. And make sure to watch the rest of EGL. Not entirely sure if all of the matchups have concluded or if there's still stuff going on, but definitely want to keep your eyes peeled for that. And for us here at AOE, once again, thank you so much for tuning into the stream. Make sure to tune in next week for all of our team's next games. And yeah, the EGL Summer Showdown will conclude next week. We'll see you there.